You're listening to the Bulls Don't Lie podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Bulls Don't Lie and check out bullsdon'tlie.com for more. What is up, everybody? Welcome into the first episode of Bulls Don't Lie, the podcast where we talk about the Chicago Bulls and maybe we lie. We'll find out in the future. Who knows right now? I am Ross, your host, Arturis Fan Club on Twitter. I am joined today by my guests Gaurav at Dash of Gaurav, Wrigley at Wrigley Court. Is that how it's pronounced? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
Dope. And then Riley at Simonovich Burner. Thank you guys for joining me. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah, that's what I love to hear. I'm good too. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm excited for the first episode here of Bulls Don't Lie. It has been a while to get this off the ground, and so it's cool that we're finally doing it. We have a few things to get into today. There was a report from Darnell Mayberry in The Athletic that Lonzo Ball's knee is still not feeling right. We know that he had the surgery back in January. We know that it was a 6 to 8 week recovery timeline, which then ended up just being, rest of the season. And now we're at the point where it sounds like it's still lingering to the point that it could be, calling into question his availability for the beginning of next season. So that was concerning to read. That's Darnell Mayberry. He's a, pretty plugged in guy. He knows his stuff for sure. So I don't know, man. I wrote an article on the Bulls Don't Lie website talking about some of the veteran point guard options that the Bulls might need to take a look at this offseason. But let's just go around and I guess what was your guys' thoughts? Wrigley, I'll start with you. Are you concerned about Lonzo Ball?
I'm a little worried. Knee injuries are tricky, especially when they're lingering like this. I'm a little concerned, and our depth at point guard isn't great. I mean, Io and Kobe were decent, but we need a more complete player at that position if Lonzo's going to miss more time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same concern I have is, if he's going to be missing time every season, is that just something we're going to have to prepare for as a team? Is he just going to be one of those guys that, load manages every season? Gaurav, what about you, man? What did you think about the recent news that, the injury's still lingering? And are there any players that maybe come to mind when you think veteran point guard?
I think we're fucked.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's one way to look at it.
We're out of luck. I think I don't know, bro. Our defense is gonna be shit forever.
Well,
is that what's gonna happen?
Love the optimistic view. I think the idea is like if he's going to be out, for portions of the season, you try to find, a veteran point guard who can play defense to come in and, take some of his minutes. I don't know. It's a tough thing to think about because you need to get him to the playoffs, but the dude has never played a full season in the league so far in his career. So Riley, I was going to kick it over to you. Is there anyone that comes to mind that could maybe give us some of what we'd be missing when Lonzo's out? Is it that bad? Alex Caruso, Io DeSumo, can they hold down the fort?
We watched this year. I don't know if you can really rely on Io for a full season. He was, I would say, struggling, but really couldn't do what Lonzo did. So I feel like we would need somebody to replace what he's supplying.
Yeah, I agree. I think this offseason is going to be tough. We'll talk about Zach in a minute. But just in terms of, all the moves that the Bulls are looking to make, they need to add some wing depth. They need to add some front court depth. And, all of a sudden now it's looking like they might need to add point guard depth. So it's kind of tough for a team that is probably going to be going into the luxury tax. There's a few guys that I, kind of was ruminating on, people who will be free agents this offseason, and maybe we should take a look at familiar names, Rajon Rondo, DJ Augustine. Does that inspire any kind of confidence in anyone here? You guys remember Rajon Rondo, DJ Augustine?
Bulls
yeah.
Rajon Rondo.
Yeah.
What this team needs is a bunch of has-beens. That's what we need right now.
Well,
bring back D Wade too.
Yeah, let's bring back D Wade. Sign and trade Zach for Jimmy Butler. I don't know.
Run it back.
No, I think with those guys who are older, you got to look at a guy who's past his prime and is looking to take a a veteran minimum, whatever it is to play for a contender. That's just kind of the situation that they're in. They're not going to be able to spend money on someone like Jalen Brunson. It's just not feasible. So those two names, Rondo, Augustine, nah.
I kind of like Rondo. I think the thing that we need to replace with Lonzo isn't so much the defense as it is kind of the passing and facilitation. Because like Caruso and Ayo at times can kind of make up for the defense, but they're not nearly the same level of facilitator as Lonzo is. He made some beautiful passes to start the season. I think Rondo can kind of replicate that, so he can be a solid ad. Give him a few minutes every game or so.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Rondo when he was here, even though it ended weird. I think he was, one of our better players, and had he not gotten injured in that playoff series, it's a story for a different day. DJ Augustine, same kind of thing. Not going to give you the same level of defense, but definitely will give you some playmaking and some shooting. Another couple guys I was thinking, like Goran Dragic, Avery Bradley. Any better?
I'm on Dragic, in honesty. Got that veteran presence that we kind of need,
Yeah. I mean, I think Dragic would be an interesting look. If you want a guy who has years in the league, a guy who can, give you some defense, give you some playmaking, hit some shots every now and then. I wouldn't be opposed to giving Dragic a look at a veteran minimum, of course. That's the idea here. These guys are definitely not going to be getting any kind of money thrown their way. The Bulls they can't really do it. Avery Bradley, same kind of deal. Dude will give you some defense, championship experience for sure. Played with Alex Caruso, so there's a connection right there. It's an option. Dennis Schroeder, same kind of deal. He was on those teams too. So those are some names. Dennis Schroeder was actually, and Goran Dragic too, they were linked to the Bulls during the trade deadline. So there is some precedence there. Yeah, those guys are options. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? You guys think of anyone else?
Really?
Ricky Rubio is technically a free agent this offseason. He tore his ACL too, or Lonzo was meniscus, but he's going to be recovering from his own knee injury. So not really an option. But Rubio was actually a guy I was thinking, like, I don't know. I mean, if he recovers from his injury and he's looking for a team next season, I mean, maybe. Could definitely use that kind of playmaking. And he's been hitting shots too. So, but with that said, this offseason has a lot of important decisions for the Bulls, as we've already discussed. The biggest one, Zach Lavine. We know that he is going to be an unrestricted free agent, and he is basically said he's going to take offers. He's going to look around. That's like basically what he has said, without directly saying that, he's going to let a bunch of teams send him a bunch of money. Now the Bulls can make the biggest offer for the most amount of years. Obviously, for a guy who's coming off a knee injury, probably want to secure that bag, the biggest bag you can. But on a scale from 1 to 10, guys, are you feeling concerned that he might leave?
Is 10 the most concern then?
Yeah, 10 would be the most concern.
It's like a 4.
Okay. Gaurav, Wrigley?
Like a 3, 4. I don't think he's leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting at a solid 3. I think as long as we give him a competitive offer, he'll stay.
Yeah, I agree, and it's good to hear Bulls fans with their heads on straight. There are some folks out there in the Twitterverse who think that Zach isn't worth the money, or that, I don't know, there's some trade out there just waiting in the wings to make the Bulls better. But let's say he does dip. Let's say Zach does make the decision that he wants to go to a different team. Obviously, this changes based on which team he chooses and if the Bulls can negotiate a sign and trade. But just kind of like in your head, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like, what's the plan if Zach leaves? Is there a player you would want to target? Would you want to just do like a full rebuild? What do you guys think? If Zach leaves, what's the move? I'll call on someone. Wrigley.
Okay, let's think this out. So if Zach leaves, we're probably getting something back in a sign and trade, which is nice. And I think what we get back in that sign and trade will be really indicative of where the front office wants to go. Because if we get like another player that's making similar money, then maybe they're trying to win it with a DeRozan, Vucevic named third player here core. But I think if they get back maybe a kind of a flyer on a young guy and like a pick or two, that's when you see it going into a full rebuild. And I'm fine with that, I guess, if we lose Zach. I don't see a team with DeRozan and Vucevic as our two best players winning anything. And I think we could build a solid team around Patrick Williams.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Pat is kind of the guy at that point, right? The young star that you want to try to build around. Riley, what about you? I mean, who is there a guy that you could target this offseason maybe to speed up the rebuild?
I think we sign trade him to Dallas for even Jalen Brunson possibly could help out the team overall, younger player. See what happens, But
I'm not opposed to that. That's an idea. Maybe,
I like that.
Yeah, maybe you could try to squeeze like Kleba out of them too. And yeah, I mean, once again, these are plans B through Z. Plan A is re-sign Zach. But it does open a world of possibilities. If Zach decides that he wants to leave, like, okay, the rebuild changes and, we can start taking a look at like acquiring a bunch of picks, potentially Gaurav. What do you think? Like, is that a better option for building a championship team? Can you win with Zach?
Yeah. If he does dip, I guess it just does depend a lot on who we get back or who we get in from that trade. I mean, and then we kind of bank on Io and Patrick Williams developing over the offseason. And I'm not really sure if we should rebuild after that. I'd be very sad if he left. That's all I can really tell you.
Yeah.
That's my expert analysis. So that would be bummed.
Yeah. No, I think that is expert analysis. That's the way a professional would put it. It'd be a bummer. A category 5 bummer. So, with all this stuff going on around the NBA Finals right now, the playoffs, we know the Bulls got eliminated in the first round. But a name that keeps getting brought up in connection to the Bulls is Ime Udoka, head coach of the Boston Celtics. He spearheaded a huge turnaround for that team this season. They were looking like they were going to be a huge disappointment around midseason, and then they just kicked it into gear. And here they are, won the East, and they are a game up as we record this on the Warriors in the NBA Finals. Ime Udoka was a finalist for the Chicago Bulls head coaching position after Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley fired Jim Boylan and started this entire rebuild process. Guys, I mean, watching him from afar, he's clearly a very good head coach, and he has taken the Celtics to the finals in his first season with them. I mean, is there any kind of remorse? Is there any kind of regret? Do you guys wish the Bulls had hired Udoka? Gaurav, I guess I'll kick it off with you. What do you think of Billy Donovan? And do you wish, we had gone with someone else?
I think we definitely should have gone with Udoka. I'll compare like the Miami Celtics series to our first round. Like Ime Udoka's adjustments that he made during the Miami series were really, really strong because, like Miami, they defend like the passing lanes really well and they leave the corners open. So once they kind of started making adjustments to attack in that way, and then another just in general, like, and then compare that to games 3 and 4 against the Bucks. It's like I was watching the exact same game. I didn't even watch game 5 because I was taking a mental health day from being a Bulls fan. And yeah, just adjustments. I think Billy's, I don't know, the word is players coach. Like I think we need a tougher coach. I mean, you saw how slow we were in transition. Caruso wanted to run the ball, and the entire stadium just deflated anytime we got back on offense. Just so slow. It's just, to me, that's bad coaching. So yeah, I think we would have been a lot better with Ime Udoka. Our defense would have been stronger. There's more effort in all around, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah. No, those are all great points. Riley, what about you? Watching Udoka, what do you think of him?
I mean, I do think, he's probably a better coach than Donovan overall, but you got to look at what he has too. He's got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, to build around. It's probably better than what we got over here. So maybe the situation would be different if you flipped the two coaches. It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's obviously a great point. The Celtics, coming into the job, you are inheriting, two, bona fide stars. One in Jason Tatum, who is, flirted with being like a top 5 player at times, top 10 player. So like he's got a different core than the Bulls had for Billy Donovan, right? And Billy Donovan came into a team prior, to all of the changes that Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley ended up making last offseason. So not totally comparable situations, but Udoka being a finalist for the job does show that he was on the Bulls' radar. Wrigley, what about you, man? What are your feelings on Billy Donovan? And do you think he's the right guy for the job?
I don't know if Billy Donovan's the solution long term, but trying to be a little optimistic here because we're all just kind of disappointed that we didn't get the better coach here. As we've seen in like the last decade, so many terrible head coaches get hired in the NBA. So I'm just happy that we have like a mediocre one at the least.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Hoiberg, Boylan, and so having a guy who brings some stability to being the head coach here, he's solid. He's developed some of our players really nicely, and we've won a lot more games with him than we did with our previous few coaches.
Yeah, and I'm with you there for sure. It's definitely hindsight 2020 kind of thing. Udoka was a first-year head coach. The Bulls were entering a rebuild and wanted a culture reset, needed a culture reset. Let's be real. Coming from, it's not like you're going from Brad Stevens, right, to a first-year head coach. You're going from Jim Boylan to a first-year head coach. Totally different, and was probably much more risky. The Celtics have put in a great, core around Ime Udoka, with Brad Stevens remaining in the front office there. So there's a lot of consistency, continuity with that team, whereas the Bulls had just turned everybody over. It was a totally new team, totally new front office. So once again, the situations aren't totally comparable. I am personally of the opinion that like at the time, Billy Donovan was probably the right hire, but at the same time, I don't think the Bulls are going to win a championship with him either. So I see both sides of it. And I guess at the end of the day, just got to kind of figure it out as we go from here on out. We hired him. It is what it is. But shout out to Ime Udoka. Made a huge turnaround with the Celtics this year. They definitely deserve a ton of credit for that. And speaking of the finals, speaking of the Celtics, I mean, let's just get into it. What do you guys think? Who's going to win? Riley, I'll start with you.
I was personally on the Warriors going to win it all until last night. That fourth quarter performance, especially come from the Celtics. It's hard to go against them now. Might have to take Celtics,
Yeah, I'm with you. I was picking the Warriors before this started. Personally, I would like to see the Warriors win. I've never been one to root for the Warriors, but I have never in my life been one to root for the Celtics. Just, grew up hating them and stuff. So I don't want to see the Celtics win, but it is fun to see a young team like that potentially upset a dynasty, which I don't know if upset even is the right term, because there were some people saying that the Warriors were the ones who were underdogs. Wrigley, what do you think? Who's going to win it all?
I think the Celtics are going to pull it off. I just think both head coaches are really good, and I want to see what kind of adjustments we see for the next few games. But I think at the end of the day, the Celtics roster is just has a lot more depth to it and more consistency to it. I mean, you look at this Warriors team. Curry's really good, obviously. We all know that. Clay's stepped up really well after all his injuries, which is really impressive. But he's not prime Klay Thompson anymore. And then you have a lot of younger, inconsistent guys, Wiggins, Poole, guys like that. And while the Celtics just have so many consistently good players who can perform well under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, experience was one of the reasons why I had the Warriors winning it all. I think now you're starting to see more of the wear of that experience. They're exhausted. Draymond is not Draymond from 2015. It's a different kind of squad right now. The Warriors don't have the same depth that the Celtics have, surely. So we'll see how this series plays out because, to your point, Wrigley, these are two incredibly smart head coaches. I don't know. Like Steve Kerr might have something up his sleeve. You never know. It's a really good team. Curry can get hot at any moment, but Celtics still looking really good. Gaurav, have I asked you who's going to win the finals yet? I don't remember.
You have not.
Well, go.
Would you like to?
Yeah, go for it.
So I think I'm one of the few Bulls fans that would be happy to see the Celtics win. I think it's a team that deserves it. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart have been to 3 conference finals. Jason Tatum has been to 2, I believe. And yeah, I think that they're hungrier for it. Like, I think that it would just be nice to see them win. I mean, at the end of the day, I hope both teams lose because the Bulls aren't there. So there's an extent to how much I can root for either team. But I would like to see the Celtics win. I think it'll go to 7 games or 6 or 7 games. I think I would narrowly pick the Celtics because, I mean, I was really impressed with the fourth quarter that they pulled off, but they had they were playing nearly perfectly at that point in the game, and I do not know if they can replicate that. I mean, the Warriors collapsed while I think Celtics were 6 for 9 for 3, and I just don't know if. I guess it comes down to adjustments. But I think the reason I picked the Celtics is what you said about the Warriors are just aging, and Steph Curry wasn't. I mean, he put up it seemed like a quiet 30, 32 points. I mean, aside from that first quarter. So, I think I would pick the Celtics. I want the games to be good, so I hope it goes 6 or 7 games. Yeah.
No, I'm of the same opinion. Like, Bulls aren't in it. I'd like to just watch the best basketball series possible. I want to see it go to 7 games, triple overtime, whatever. That would be the most enjoyable for me as a fan. Realistically, I mean, the Celtics, I think there's a double-edged sword to what happened in game 1 where they won even though Tatum and Brown were not very good for a lot of the game. But at the same time, Tatum and Brown weren't very good for a lot of the game. That's a bad sign. You need these guys to step up in the playoffs and the finals. And, the Warriors, at some point, I think you'll see Jordan Poole get hot. Like, he was taking some Denzel Valentine type shots in that game. It's like hitting the top of the backboard and shit. I don't know, man. I think it's a streaky team. Otto Porter Jr. was hitting threes, man. Bulls legend. And at some point, they'll have one of their like signature Warrior third quarters where it will just like, we'll all be like, ah, shit, they're back. It'll happen at some point. I'm pretty sure of it. But hopefully, like Gaurav said, we see this game or this series go as long and as exciting and entertaining as possible. Guys, did we miss anything?
I want to see Klay go crazy.
Yeah, I want to see some signature Klay Thompson moments. I'd love to see some signature Jason Tatum moments too. Like, he is a legend in the making right now. I want to see those signature moments that we will see on highlight reels for years to come. I mean, this is the time right now. So, hoping for the best. Anything else, guys? Did we miss anything? I don't remember. I think we hit it all.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
I wish Jimmy hit that shot, so
say that again.
I wish Jimmy hit that shot.
Yeah, you wish the Heat were in the finals?
No, I just want him to hit that shot.
It would have been cool if he hit that shot. It wasn't a great shot. Personally, I don't think he should have taken that shot.
He's a dog, bro. He does whatever he wants.
He does have that dog in him. Confirmed.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me again. Gaurav, Wrigley, Riley. I will put all of their handles in the description for wherever you are listening or watching this. We are on YouTube. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Bulls Don't Lie. Make sure to go to bullsdon'tlie.com and check out the article that I wrote about Lonzo Ball's knee injury and some of those veteran point guards that could be available for the Bulls this offseason that we talked about. But thank you guys again for listening and watching, and we will catch y'all very soon.